Good afternoon and welcome to Morning MTI. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today we're going to be covering Dungeons & Dragons Golden Archive Collection Xanathar and Silgar. The Xanathar and Silgar. Or the Silgar as well, because there's lots of them. So today is going to be kind of a fun video. I'm going to compare Xanathar here to the other Dungeons and Dragons Golden Archive Collection monsters, and I hope they continue to bring us these monsters because I absolutely adore every single one of them. They have just been a treat for the fingertips, and they've all been really cool in one way or another, and I've absolutely fallen in love with the Golden Archive Collection's monsters. I don't know anything about their like normal 1/12 scale action figure things, like humanoids, but I don't care about any of the humanoids unless they release a goblin or an orc. But yeah, or even a troll. Oh no, give me a Golden Archive Collection troll. That sounds cool. Or a Goliath. I'll take a Goliath as well. That would also be neat. So let's talk about today's video. And before I really get into it, please go below and hit the like button, share, and subscribe. And understand these are not the normal review videos. I'm not going to talk about paint. I'm not going to talk about color. I'm not gonna get mad about marbling or stuff like that because I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm blind. I'm going to talk about the way the figure feels in the hand, how heavy it is, what type of plastic it's made out of, and things like that. I don't know the names for plastics. I just know how they feel, and I could tell you whether or not something feels good in the hand or if it feels terrible in the hand. This is an in-depth, hands-on review, and hands is capitalized in this. Emphasis on the hands-on. All right, that being said, let's get into today's video, and I hope that all of you out there are having a wonderful holiday season. And yeah, so a little backstory about Xanathar before we get it, because I can't talk about the Xanathar action figure without giving you the backstory of Xanathar and Sil-gar. All right? Now, there's lots of different backstories, and you'll get many different people talking about it in different ways on the internet. But the way that I've always understood it to be, and this is just me and my opinion, okay? And also some guy who used to do really nice animated Dungeons and Dragons things, which I can't remember his name, or else I'd give him a shout out. I tried to find him on YouTube, but I couldn't. And I'm like, no, I wanted to talk about him. So, all right, so Xanathar here is was originally Xanathar. Xanathar was ruling over the assassins of Waterdeep, from under Waterdeep. Now he was ruling over freelance assassins because he didn't really want to make an assassins guild. He was a secretive guy. Well, Xanathar had a pet fish, Silgar. And Silgar and Xanathar are a pair. They're together. But the thing is goldfish have an expiration date, and the goldfish would occasionally perish, and turn belly up in the tank. Well, the assassins feared what would happen if the only thing in the universe that Xanathar actually loved died. And so they would sneak in and switch out the goldfish. Now, understand, they're sneaking into a beholder's little area, a beholder with all of these eyeballs to switch out the goldfish. I'm floored by how they did it. And I knocked one of the eyeballs off. Didn't I? Did I knock one of the eyeballs off? Yeah, how did I do that? And where did this eyeball even go? But so that's what happened there. Yeah, there it is. I'll slip you back into your little spot. These are really neat. I like the fact that you can move them around. They're really cool eyeballs. Get you in there. There you go. All right. So Xanathar ended up being eliminated by another beholder, and this has just continued going down the line. That's why it's called the Xanathar and not Xanathar anymore, because Xanathar's long gone. There's been multiple Xanathars, but the thing about every Xanathar is no matter if they love the goldfish or not, it's understood that the Xanathar loves the goldfish, and the Xanathar must take care of the goldfish, and the Xanathar must look at the goldfish and cherish the goldfish, because the goldfish Silgar is actually part of the position of the Xanathar. So even if a Xanathar doesn't like the goldfish, they have to pretend they do. And they sit there wanting the goldfish to just perish one day, and they don't have to worry about the goldfish. But every time the goldfish perishes, the assassins come in and they switch out the goldfish. So the Xanathar is always wondering, like, what is this goldfish and why is it immortal? And I'm pretty sure there would be stories of one of the Xanathars trying to poison Sil-gar just to get rid of the stupid goldfish. But then the assassins come in, and then the Xanathars wandering around looking for what in the world is going on with this goldfish, like doing research on Silgar to figure out why is Silgar surviving. Why does Silgar always survive everything I do? This has got to be like the greatest goldfish in history. And I just love that storyline behind it. And that's one of the reasons I've always enjoyed the D&D stuff, is because there's those little things like this giant beholder which can just shoot laser beams from its freaking eyeballs, and it cherishes a goldfish. And because the position, it has to cherish the goldfish. So we get a little goldfish tank, and it got a little stand, and it feels really nice, and there's lots of fun textures to this goldfish tank. And the only negative to this goldfish tank, I have to say, is the fact you can't open the lid and reach in there and actually pet Xanathar. So you can't have the lid open and have not Xanathar, Silgar, and have Xanathar like have one of his tendrils in the water to play with Silgar. Yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity with this, but it's still so amazing that we got Silgar with this. This just makes my day that we got Silgar with Xanathar. It's just such an awesome combo. So we're going to set Silgar off to the side, and we're going to talk about Xanathar here. And Xanathar came with one more accessory, not counting his tentacles. He comes with the pile of gold that beholders sleep on. Beholders are like dragons. Beholders need to sleep on gold. It's just, I guess it's comfy for them. They enjoy the feel of it, and that's where they like to sleep. They like to sleep on gold, and that's why I like dragons like to sleep on their hoard, and beholders like to sleep on their hoard. It's just something they do. So that's kind of neat that there's a comparison of the two. But we can look at the stand for him real quick, and he just will kind of wobble around because he's got no way to stand up otherwise. This is a well-textured thing. It's made out of some decent plastic. It's slightly rubbery, which is what you want in something like this that can hold a lot of weight. And you didn't want a super fragile plastic that would just give way and crack under the weight of Xanathar here, because he's a hefty guy. But on the underside, we've got these 4 beams that connect it all together with a circle in the middle, so that should be pretty strong. I think that this should be able to last a while without breaking. The textures on it are just amazing. Every single little piece of gold has its own individual texture. It's wild. It's almost white noise to the fingertips. There's so much texture going on here. We get like the occasional cup, like that's like a really nice goblet or something. And then over here is a smaller cup. And there's actually, I think somewhere in here, a skull even. And it's just really neat. Yeah, no, that's just a cup. I like that the cup actually, you can get your fingertip in the inside of it, almost as if it's a cup that they put into this. It's really neat. The textures on this are really amazing, and they did a very, very good job making this. This is an exceptional little piece that goes with Xanathar here. This is exceptional, and I like the fact that you can just have this by itself if you wanted to do like a treasury or something with a pile of gold in the center of the treasury. That this is your pile of gold you can put in the center of the treasury, and that's by itself really cool and amazing. I love this stand. I like it. I like it a lot. It's a really good addition to this figure, that is for sure. So we'll slide the stand off to the side, and now let's talk about Xanathar. First off, I want to talk about the fact that he weighs like 2 pounds. This is a heavy guy. He is hefty. He is a beast, and that is wild. Oh, there's a cream over here behind the slime cube that we'll talk about in a second. I bet he's upset that the slime cube is taking up a lot of his sleeping areas. So let's get into Xanathar here. First off, He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. Oh, wait, did I count that one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on his left side or his right side. He's got 1 in the center, making 6. And then let's see, on his right side, he's got 1, 2. Oh, we'll count that one as 3. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so he's got 5 on each side. That's 10 tentacles. I like it when they have 10 tentacles. He's got an opening and shutting mouth that's huge. Look at that, it's a giant mouth. It's just huge. Let's see, we can actually find, nuts. I'll just take you. Okay, so we got it. This G.I. Joe classified figure right here. I'm not sure who this is exactly. Oh, you're a Cobra Trooper. Perfect. So we got a Cobra Trooper right here. We could just kind of put the Cobra Trooper inside the mouth of Xanathar. I think that's really cool that you can just do that and close the mouth slightly to attach it. I think that's really neat, and it also kind of gives you an understanding of just how large this beholder is. And that gives you an understanding also of how large beholders are. Like, look at this Cobra Trooper next to the beholder. Yeah, the beholder's not as tall as the Cobra Trooper, and if you put the Cobra Trooper's feet next to his mouth, the Cobra Trooper's definitely longer than he is wide, but the Cobra Trooper here weighs a few ounces. You know, this guy, like, that's the noise the Cobra Trooper makes when it falls. That's the noise the beholder makes when he falls. That is wild. This is a hefty guy. I cannot repeat that enough. So let's get into his, talking about his textures and stuff. I do like the fact that every one of his tentacles here has rings on them. Like there's like a bracer on this one, and this one has 2 rings on it. It's really just a fun thing that there's all of these. He's wearing jewelry. He's got a lot of jewelry on, and some of it in the story is magical, and others is not. And I like the fact that he's got that. You know, he's got a bracer on this tentacle. He's got a couple of rings on this one, or just 1 ring on that one. On the back tentacle, he doesn't seem to put any rings on it. And on his other back tentacle, not so much. Turn around to show you. Yeah, not many rings there on those tentacles, but still a lot of rings. You know, he's wearing a lot of rings and bracers. Now, his eyeball does move around. There's a little eyeball joystick in his mouth at the roof of it, and you can move the eyeball up and down. You can also rotate the eye left and right. I think that's kind of neat, and I like the noise it makes. And that is really cool that you can just move the eyeball around, so you can have it like staring at a Silgar. He could just be sitting there looking at Silgar, or you could have him positioned off to the side, but his big eye is still looking at Silgar. It's a fun little thing that you can do with this, and I like that they included that. That's just a little bit extra, and it really does add to this figure. And also, because his teeth are so large, you don't even really see that joystick in there, I hope. So we'll talk about his textures starting from the inside of the mouth, because this is just a really good mouth. We've got roof of the mouth textures around that little stick that controls the eyeball. Going all the way back into the mouth, you actually get a uvula, or a bit of one, and you can kind of feel where his throat goes. That is really good. I like that. The tongue is really well textured, just like the his stand is. You can feel all of his taste buds on his tongue. It's a rough tongue. It's wild. Here he's also got a bunch of teeth, and I guess he's like a shark, because behind some of these teeth, like there's a broken one there, but there's a new one growing up out of his gum line, and I like that attention to detail. Like he has new teeth sprouting up where old teeth are starting to get worn away, just like a shark. And these teeth are all very sharp, and they're just wicked feeling teeth. Like this is a scary guy. And when he shuts his mouth, all the teeth line up into this perfect grin of doom. And it's just, it reminds me of a Langolier, and I love it. It's just, wow. It's just such a good mouth. He's got this wonderful chin and this modeled pattern all over his body for his skin, which is a weird skin. It's not scales. It's kind of what they thought like dinosaurs had before they realized they had feathers. So it's just a bunch of mottled skin that's rough textured, and it comes all the way down underneath him, and it's just there's all of this wonderful texture going on here, and it reminds me of like if you've ever touched a pig. A pig has a very similar texture if you don't count the hair, but there's just this wonderful all over his body. They didn't even skimp out where it would rest on the flight on his little golden area. Still has texture. It's all over the place, and I love how it kind of rolls around and gives the more of the appearance of a ball because he is kind of ball. He's a ball shape, and he's just a giant floating ball of eyes, and it's just wow. You wouldn't expect so much texture here or sculpting, but there is. It's everywhere, and I like the way that it has like these armor pattern, kind of like an armadillo. The 14 band ones that can roll up into balls from South America. That's how this. The look of those is how this feels. It feels like one of those armadillos that's rolled itself up into a ball, and I love that detail. I love that they didn't have to do that, and it's just so nice that they did. And his lips have their own textures. It's just I like the lips that go all the way around, and it makes me think that he's just going to ask somebody, "Do you know how I got these scars?" And his eyeball is really well done in there. It's slick to the touch. That's really cool. I like the eyelids around the edges. I do wish you could open these eyelids wider and close them like you can open and shut the mouth, but you know what? I'll take it. All of these wonderful textures. He's even got these little groupings of three horns on each side of his head. They're little and they're kind of cute. And yeah, Xanathar here is a must-have in my opinion, a must-have. And now let's go ahead and do a size comparison to end the video out. But before I do the size comparison, I'm going to grade this guy, and I'm going to give him, as monsters go, he's getting a solid 10 out of 10. I think this is an excellent, excellent beholder. This is a great example of one. And if you wanted to do like a monster manual thing where you keep a bunch of these guys together, then this is definitely up your alley. Like the Golden Archive collection has really hit it out of the park when it comes to the monsters. It really, really has. I have loved every single one of them. And, I haven't even touched any of the action figures because I don't care about the humanoids. I just want the monsters. And I hope that the Dungeons and Dragons Hasbro people start really understanding that. Like, we don't care about the humanoids. We want the monsters. Give us the monsters. Give us all the monsters from the Monster Manual. So here we go. Here's some size comparisons with a Beholder and an Owlbear. Look at this. Just the Owlbear. Let's see. Can the Owlbear's mouth fit inside? Head fit inside the Beholder's mouth. Let's take a look. I think that's an important size comparison to do. Open that mouth wide, sir. All right. And no, the Beholder's mouth is not wide enough to eat the owlbear's head. But that is a nice little comparison there. Can the owlbear ride the Beholder? Yes. Yes, the owlbear can kind of ride the Beholder. I can jump up here and just start trying to get at the Beholder because the Beholder is bigger than an owlbear. And I like that they've continued with that. I'm going to set the owlbear off to the side, and I knocked him off his flight stand. We're just knocking him all over the place today, aren't we? Okay, next up on the list is one of my new favorites, the Displacer Beast. We got a Displacer Beast. It's really long, but weight-wise, the Beholder and the Owlbear are more closely associated in weight. But here's the Displacer Beast. Now, the Beholder can consume the Displacer Beast's head. He can eat the head of the Displacer Beast. Yeah, you try to displace your way out of that. He's just going to hit you with a stone beam or something like that. Petrify, and then get you. I like the tentacles. We can have a tentacle off. The Displacer Beast's tentacles are more awesome than the Beholder's tentacles, which is a shame. But there's like comparison. I think that's neat. So let's set the Displacer Beastone over there. And finally, we have what is, to date, my favorite of all the monsters. I mean, the Beholder's cool, but there is one monster in particular that I think is the best that they've done, and it's Mr. Slime Cube. Let's bring out the Slime Cube. First off, we have the alligator that pulls it. Yes. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, I got fun with Fiona and Crocmaster, and I put Crocmaster in the inside of the slime cube, and he's like holding on to Fiona's leash, so Fiona's just kind of dragging a slime cube around behind her. But let's go ahead and look at this. So let's remove Fiona from that, and we can do an alligator versus a beholder. Can the beholder eat the alligator head? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Xanathar can eat the head of an alligator. And yes, Xanathar can eat the head of an alligator. He can totally do that and chomp down on a chomper chomper. And let's set Fiona off to the side and slip this around a bit. There we go. Size comparison. I think if you remove the tentacles, you could actually fit Xanathar inside of this slime cube. And by the way, just to mention it again, this slime cube is one of the most interesting and unique monsters in the monster manual for Dungeons and Dragons. And as a toy, I love the fact that you can still open this thing up and store stuff inside of it. Like I've got a bunch of extra action figures and hands and stuff all stored in here. Like there's a Marvel Legends Colossus from Toy Biz. Here's a whip, and here's a head. We got a head right here for somebody. I don't even know whose head this is, but it's a head, and kind of a neat one too. Whose head are you? Whose head are you? Oh well. Close it back up. I like the fact that you can just close it back up and use it as storage. But that has been the review of the Beholder Xanathar and his goldfish Sil-gar. I love the story of Xanathar and Silgar from Waterdeep. I think it's just really creative and really interesting, and it's kind of funny. And that's one of the joys about Dungeons and Dragons. Some of it can be kind of scary. Some of it can be really actiony. And there's this occasional bit of comedy and silliness dashed in there. And it's always been like that. And Dungeons and Dragons has always been just a little silly. Like Terry Pratchett's proud of it, yeah. And I know Gygax is definitely, he was a very creative person, and he came up with some really cool stuff. And I make comparisons to Terry Pratchett because Terry Pratchett did a fantasy series that had the silliness of Dungeons and Dragons baked into it. And it did feel like reading Dungeons and Dragons books that were just a little less serious than the Dungeons and Dragons books are. So it's a lot of fun. This is, of course, my roommate, Xanathar. He really likes beholders, and I have to say that I do too. But that comes from a different reason of me being the blind person. I think having extra eyes on tentacles, it means less chance of blindness. So because it is really hard to blind a beholder, and that's why I've always enjoyed them. I like beholders, and I like Xanathar. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope all of you are having a great holiday season. I've been your host, Blind Prime, and the orange thing sleeping far away from the camera today has been Cream the cat. What's wrong, Cream? What's going on with you being camera shy lately? Yeah. No. I started petting him, and he almost rolled off the table. Ugh. I don't think he has his brain cell today. Let me know in the comments below, where did his orange brain cell go today? Until next, Prime. Bye-bye for now.